Welcome to this webinar of the Jerusalem Press Club, JPC, another press briefing in the series Israel is Alive and Kicking with Yair Assaf-Shapira, researcher at the Jerusalem Institute for Policy Research, who will speak about the Statistical Yearbook of Jerusalem, which has just been released on the eve of Jerusalem Day. Yair has been a researcher at the Institute since 1999, specializing in planning, data analysis and presentation, and GIS mapping. He's an editor of the Institute's blog, always based on data in the spirit of the well-known aphorism, which I'm sure the journalists here will appreciate. Without data, you are just another person with an opinion. Yair holds a BA in architecture from the Bezalel Academy in Jerusalem and an MA in geography and urban planning from the Hebrew University. Yair will start with a short introduction and then we'll open up for Q&A. Please type your questions on chat and he will answer them as much as he can. Needless to say, you'll have access to Yair and to the yearbook and to any other expert or material of the Jerusalem Institute, either through us or or directly with them. This is a good opportunity to thank Michal Shilor, the spokesperson of the Institute, for facilitating this webinar. Yair, please.
Hello, good day to all. I always, am I heard good? Is it okay? Can you hear me? Thanks.
Yes.
I always try to emphasize the other half of this sentence, or the other sentence, which says that without an opinion, you're just someone with data. So I think that's also important. Jerusalem is, or maybe I should start even before that. Data, we believe at the Institute, is the basis for analyzing, even for analyzing trends, for having insights on what is going on. And this is the only basis that we see for formulating policy analysis and then policy recommendations. So we think that data is very important. The yearbook is being published for over 30 years, and therefore it has a long tradition of how things are done and how is data presented. We deal with the yearbook with respect for the ones who did it before us, and I'll give a few general data points, and then I'll be happy to have it more as a discussion. So Jerusalem has gone over 900,000 residents. It's right now, at the end of 2018, it was 919,400 residents. Now this figure, as most figures are, is subject to a few points of just a second. I have to organize my thoughts. Anyway, this figure includes all of the Jerusalem residents, Jews, Arabs alike, ultra-Orthodox, religious, etc. But this figure does not include, first of all, a lot of tourists, which are at any given time residing in Jerusalem, many foreign residents, which are residing in the city, including also mainly in neighborhoods which are in the Arab neighborhoods which are over the security fence. We have many people coming in from the West Bank residing in the city. So the actual number may be much higher. But this is the number, this is the official number. And actually it has to be said that the Central Bureau of Statistics released just yesterday morning the number for 2019, which is slightly over 935,000 residents. So Jerusalem is by far the largest city in Israel. The mayor, Moshe Leon, has double residents under his jurisdiction than does the mayor of the second city in Israel, being Tel Aviv. So this is a very wide gap. But this gap also has to be said, that this gap is between the jurisdiction of Jerusalem versus the jurisdiction of Tel Aviv. But the actual city of Tel Aviv, meaning the urban entity of Tel Aviv, also includes Ramat Gan, Givatayim, Holon, etc. So this is larger than Tel Aviv. So actually, the urban setting in Tel Aviv is much more. It's much larger in terms of people. So this is about the population. We always break the population into groups so we can understand the trends. And the main two groups are Jews and Arabs, of course. Jews and Arabs used to be what was called then the demographic balance, was the first thing that used to open our press conferences when we released the yearbook. But it has now gone to be, I would say, even a minor issue. So how come it's a minor issue now? The thing is that it used to change in a much more rapid pace. And now we see that the percentages being 38% Arab population versus 62% Jewish population, these percentages are changing very slowly. And why are they changing slowly? Changing slowly because the growth rate of the Arab population is going down, and the growth rate of the Jewish population is going up. And maybe in a few years we'll see even the two growth rates being equal, and then we'll see that this demographic balance will stay the same and maybe even change direction. And I think this is a very important thing to say, and it has to be noted that why is the Arab growth rate of the population dropping? That's due mainly to the fact that Arab women are bearing much less children than they used to, and Jewish women opposite, much more children than they used to. So this is a stable trend. We used to think it was maybe a statistical mistake, but it's a stable trend, and it's been going on for something like maybe more than 10 years, maybe approximately 15 years. So these are the trends in terms of population and demographics. I can take questions in between if you want, or maybe go to other things.
Oh, no, please go ahead, and then maybe go through the highlights of the yearbook, and then we'll open up.
Okay, so this, I think, the main trends in terms of demographics and population, the growth rate, the balance, the total population, the balance, the growth rate of the both populations. One more thing that has to be said in terms of demographics is the groups within the Jewish population, and one thing which is the one group. Well, anyway, the balance is that the Haredi population is approximately 42% of the Jewish population, and this percent is slightly growing. So now I'll go into migration.
No, before you go to migration, I think I looked at the book, and the division of the population is among the Jewish population is between seculars, Orthodox, and Haredi is 33% secular, what we call secular, 31 Orthodox, and 36 Haredi. Is that correct?
These are the figures for the people older 20 years and over. So this is you're right. This is the figure, but this figure is it comes from the social survey of the Central Bureau of Statistics, and it relates to the people aged 20 and over. And the figure I was quoting was a figure for the total population.
One question, Yair, before you go on. Most of the data is for the end of 2018, right?
That's right.
So you have any idea what happened? What are the trends? Without too much research, actual research, just the trends between end of 18 and almost half of 2020.
Well, usually what we see in population and demographics, the trends are very stable. So obviously the population is continuing to grow. Obviously the growth percentages of the two populations, Jews and Arabs, are continuing. The Arabs are, I looked at the Central Bureau of Statistics data, which was released yesterday, and the trends for the growth of the two populations, the Jews and Arabs, the growth rate of the Arab population dropped even lower than we expected. It dropped to 2% per year, which is low, which is actually the growth rate of the entire country of Israel. So this is the continuation of the trends there. In terms of Haredi population, if you look just at the same data table that you were quoting, you see that in the year 2013, the percentage for the 20 and over was 33.7 or 34%. So we can say that this percentage grew by 2% points since from 2013 to 2017. And so this is approximately the rate. But the growth rate of the populations is subject also to construction, because we see a lot of spillover of the growth of the population by a negative migration. So when the populations grow,
let's go to migration now.
Migration, okay. The migration data for 2018 was minus 6,000. What do I mean by minus? We saw this data point is quoted wrongly sometimes, so it's important to stress it. That the balance between the people coming in to Jerusalem minus the people going out of Jerusalem was minus 6,000 people. This figure was similar to 2017, and these two years both hold a record negative. I mean, usually the migration balance is more negative than it was in those 2 years. So this is data, but this datum is between two. It's the balance between two figures, between the figure of approximately 13,000 coming in and 19,000 going out. Just to the figures in Tel Aviv, for example, are much higher. The balance in Tel Aviv this year was positive, which is absolutely not the normal case. Usually in all large cities in Israel and abroad, the balance is negative because the city can never provide enough residents for all the new households forming in the city. But Tel Aviv this year was just a single year, which was positive. So the migration balance is, I think that the bottom line, this number, this minus 6,000 is not the main point. It's more of it's a number which is quoted, and it's quoted so much that it becomes a goal to lower this migration balance. And I think this is not the right way to think about it, because what's most important thing about the balance is what share of these people leaving Jerusalem are leaving to the outskirts of the city. Because when a person leaves Tel Aviv and resides in Ramat Gan, it's as if he didn't leave Tel Aviv at all. He continues to work, study, consume culture, etc. in Tel Aviv. So on the same comparison, if a person leaves Jerusalem to Mevaseret or to Ma'ale Adumim or to Beitar Illit, he continues to act in Jerusalem. Work, study, culture, sidurim, everything, consumption, retail, etc. So this is actually the most important number. Which share of the population is going to the outskirts of the city? And for this reason, I think that when there is construction going on, for example, in Ma'ale Adumim or Mevaseret, etc., Jerusalem should be the first to praise this trend. It's a positive trend in terms of Jerusalem, in my opinion, and not everybody shares it.
So it's the metropolitan area that counts, not the city itself.
This is what I think, and I think that we can look at Tel Aviv and see what happened when people migrated out of Tel Aviv into the Tel Aviv metropolitan area, which formed as a very thick metropolitan area, which is actually bringing the economic, very strong economic yitron to Tel Aviv. People are coming, hundreds of thousands of people are coming into Tel Aviv every day to work and to buy and to go to museums and culture, etc. And this is actually the economic life of the city. So I think that the most important thing is actually how many people left to these outskirts. And I can say that within this data that was released by the Central Bureau of Statistics, we saw that the next year, 2019, had a further drop in the balance. It was not 6,000 anymore, it was lower. I mean, more negative. So this is in terms of migration.
There's a question about the identities of the different population. You categorize the Jewish population as secular, Haredi, religious. What about the Arab population? What kind of identities and which is the largest?
It can be, there is an attempt to categorize the Arab population in Jerusalem and in Israel by religious identity.
You're not on video, that's right.
By religious identity, but most of the Arabs in Jerusalem as well as in Israel define themselves as traditional, not as not as secular and not as highly religious, but as traditional. This is there is no. It's the very large majority of the Arab population.
But you also include the Christians among them.
Yes. This is when asking the Arab population as a whole. The Christians are. I can pop up the datum, but the Christians are a very small minority within the Arab population, the Arab Christians.
Okay.
Okay. Just to give just a few figures of the main localities to which people are leaving. Just a second. These are usually we have a very interesting mix of localities, and this year is no difference. We have Tel Aviv with 1,640 people leaving to Tel Aviv, and then Bet Shemesh, Tzur Adasa, Beitar Illit, Givat Ze'ev, Bnei Brak, Modi'in. Actually, a mix of localities which are Haredi and secular, places with cheap residents, places with expensive residents. And from this we conclude, and also from other indications, we conclude that the people leaving the city are actually from all populations. We have secular people, we have ultra-Orthodox people, we have modern Orthodox people leaving the city, as well as people coming into it.
Yair, there's a question. The main concern in the past year has been that the young secular or modern Orthodox people are leaving the city. I mean, Many of them come as students, they fall in love in the city, and then they leave because of housing and jobs opportunities. Do you have any data on this?
Well, as I said, well, the data that we have on migration, if we try to categorize the people, we did once focused research in which we got hold of the data of the school where, to which people went, to which people who migrated out of Jerusalem. And but this was one specific year. What we do year by year, we see exactly what I was referring to just before, the localities to which people are leaving. And yes, we see that people are leaving to, for example, to Gush Etzion. We assume that most people are modern Orthodox, but I want to say that this is a trend in Israel as a whole. People are, for example, coming into Tel Aviv, staying for a few years, and then when they form a family, they move to Rishon or to any other suburb, and this actually happens over the world. People are usually coming into the city for a period of time, and then when they need a larger apartment, they usually leave. It's and I don't think it's a trend that we should think of as positive or negative. It's just natural that this is how it works. We just have to provide these people leaving Jerusalem with the option to continue and work in Jerusalem. For example, with transportation, public transit, etc.
There's a question which goes beyond the numbers and the data, and that is about the dynamics of inclusion, integration, interaction in the city. For example, Arabs being part of the life of the city in general, not only in their own neighborhoods. Did you research that?
Yeah, there was one work done by Mark Stern actually, which found out that most of the workers, of the employees residing in East Jerusalem, of the Arab people residing in East Jerusalem who are employed actually in the west side, in West Jerusalem. So there is a lot of interaction, and from indications we get, we see that this interaction is even becoming more and more intensive. One indication I can point out is the knowledge of Hebrew. With there is a project, as you probably know, of the government to invest a lot of money in East Jerusalem and trying to advance the population. And one of the main things there is the study of the Hebrew language, of Hebrew. And what we see is a trend that people are testifying on themselves that they know Hebrew. We see that from year to year they're testifying on themselves that they know less Hebrew. I'm not sure I was accurate. The percentage of people who claim they know they know good Hebrew is dropping. And this is Palestinians residing in East Jerusalem. And we figure that this is not because of less and less integration. This is because more and more integration, more and more people are coming into contact with the Jewish population of West Jerusalem, and they realize how important is Hebrew for their day-to-day life, and how they have to improve it if they want to further integrate into the life in Jerusalem. So these are two
I think that the Jerusalem Foundation supported a project encouraging Arab women from East Jerusalem to study Hebrew, which is the key to be employed. Why don't we say a few words about the social economics, the poverty, employment, etc.
Okay, so first of all, I just want to say exactly as you pointed out, thank you, Michal. I want to point out about the Arab women. The Arab women are actually the sector which is participating. This is exactly what Michal is showing us right now, is participating in very low percentages in the workforce. I want to say that thinking about it from a demographic point of view, it's a mystery, because we see that for some 15 years, the number of children has been dropping, and usually, almost always, when we see this trend in populations around the world, we see that the participation in the workforce is growing rapidly. But within the Palestinian women, the Arab women of East Jerusalem, we see this percentage rising very, very slowly. And even this year, 2018, saw a slight descent in this number. So it's a mystery, and naturally there is a very strong attempt to try to give these women whatever it needs, whatever it takes. I mean, language, motivation, workplaces, and to facilitate public transit, and to facilitate them to go to work. There's a very strong attempt in many ways in this direction. What we see in the other groups is one thing that's unique in Jerusalem is that with the fact that within the Jewish population, we see that the women, the participation in the labor force for women is higher than for men. This is because of the Haredi men, which are participating in low percentages in the workforce. So, this drops the percentage into what you see in front of you, which is 74% for the Jewish men versus 81% for the Jewish women. So, and these percentages of the participation in the labor force are of a huge importance, obviously, and not necessarily because of the poverty rates, but because of what you mentioned before, the participation in city life, I would say, trying to make this city as vibrant and as economically strong as we wish it to be, but not just because we want to raise people from poverty. It's not the only motivation for raising the participation in the labor force.
Okay, I'm sure you have more data to share with us, but I'm afraid we can't cover everything, and I encourage people to go and really get the yearbook itself. And as you can see, there's a lot of information there. There's a question: do you have any figures about East Jerusalem Arabs who received citizenship, or this is not something you research?
It's not in the Statistical Yearbook, but we do see a dramatic rise both in the applications for citizenship and in the improvements of these applications. Yes,
I see.
You can think of it also as a figure which is a good indicator for what you said before about the integration of the Arab population with the city life.
Following up on this, we didn't discuss housing, but there's a strong problem of housing in East Jerusalem. Do you know of any, how many applications for urban planning has been approved there, or you don't touch these kind of issues?
In East Jerusalem, we have two main, one actually main thing, which is blocking construction, and this is the land registrar of East Jerusalem. The land registrar of East Jerusalem has been the land settlement. I mean, more than 90% of the land of East Jerusalem is not registered properly within the land registrar. And this thing actually blocks both the possibility to construct things, to construct houses which are because there is a risk to it. So if I'm risking a two-story house, it's one thing, and if I'm risking a high-rise, it's something else. So this is one thing, and the other thing is the coverage of Jerusalem, of East Jerusalem neighborhoods with plans. And the municipality is actually approving these plans for the neighborhoods of East Jerusalem. And most of them actually are covered by planning schemes, which is good news. We do have within the yearbook, we do have the figures, the exact figures for each neighborhood, but I can say that due to a lot of illegal construction, these figures in East Jerusalem are actually not. They're not the actual figures.
Okay, very good. Yair, I have to wrap it up here.
I'm sorry if I could. I'm sorry. Hi, my name is Efrat. I work with Yair. If I could just jump in reply to all of your questions on the Institute's website, which I'm sure Michal will send you the link. Our publication recently published by the Institute about church places in Jerusalem, which was the first question, the land registration issue and the economic implications of the lack of the land registration. Many researches about East Jerusalem, including one just published today about civil society in East Jerusalem. So we will send you the link to our website, and then you can really just follow up with any one of us about questions.
Thank you very much, Efrat. This is very helpful. And thank you all. Stay tuned to our next webinar tomorrow at 1 p.m. with Professor Eli Podeh, expert in Islamic and Middle Eastern studies at the Hebrew University, who will speak about the prospect of annexation in the West Bank, something he calls a bridge too far. And later tomorrow at 4 p.m., a press briefing with Professor Avi Weiss, president of the Taub Center, which has just released its annual report, and he'll speak about the socioeconomic situation following COVID-19 crisis. Thank you, Yair. Thank you, friends from the Jerusalem Institute, and thank you all for being with us. See you soon.
Thanks for having us. Thank you.